Priscilla Barrera with the Investing News Network, and here with me today is Gianni Kovacevic, author and executive chairman of Copperback. Thank you so much for joining us today, Gianni.
Nice to be here.
All right, so my first question for you is, last year we saw copper gain and outperform gold. Do you expect that to happen again this year?
Maybe it was a little bit of catch-up. So the question is not really what's going to happen in 6 months or a year, but looking forward 5 and 10 years. And I do believe that the demand, the demand for copper is going to increase in the next 20 years or thereabouts by about 50%. So the CAGR growth won't be the historical 3%. It could be more, and this is simply due to the intensive electrification of global energy, the way we generate it, the way we transfer it, and the way we utilize it. In the future, of course, there will be some things of substitution and what have you, but in the long run, net, I do see a lot more demand.
Right, so as you're saying, there's a lot of excitement about copper demand in terms of electric cars and what's happening with the whole electrification. What are your views on that, and when can the market expect the demand to hit?
Well, electric cars is one thing, and there's going to be demand there, and one can argue when will we achieve 10% penetration of the electric car. There's been some pronouncements by governments that by 2035 or 2040 they won't allow the petroleum engine anymore. That might be a little bit difficult to do. The real use of copper, the big user, is the energy mix, all of it. When you look at the generation of a wind park, it takes 500% more copper. And when they do this offshore, it takes 1,000% more copper for each megawatt. There's a lot more copper in that application than there is in the electric car. But it's an all of the above. It does not matter. When you're going away from fossil fuels, including things that are off-grid, because when you're off-grid, you have, by nature, you have solar or what have you, or a mix, it takes more copper.
Right. And if you had to give one suggestion or one piece of advice to a resource, a new investor in the base metal sector in particular, what would it be?
There's two camps. There's the camp that wants the margin of safety, and the price is volatile, so they look at having the top 10 or 20 of the future projects. Really strong economics, and does this project work in $2.75 copper or $3 copper? I look at it differently. I think if first you ask yourself, we're going to need more copper in the future, even looking at substitution. What is the grade of the future copper mine in the next 10, 20, 30 years? It's a lot lower. Most people don't recognize or maybe don't appreciate that in the year 2010, if you look at the 15 largest copper producers, the average grade that ran through their mills was 1.2%. In 2016, that was 0.72%. But when you look at the reserve profile for the projects in the future and the resources, those projects that maybe don't quite have feasibility level, we're talking copper only, 0.3% copper, 0.35. You really need to include the equivalent number. And when you reverse engineer that, this is not economic. Because the simple math, today copper's trading at $3.20 a pound or $7,200 a ton on the LME. If the copper ore is 1%, that ton of that ore is worth $72. Well, the future's not 1%, it's 0.5 or 0.3. A ton of that ore is worth $30 or $35. It doesn't work, the math does not work. So we should see, I would think, I'm not a prognosticator of the price, but will we see a 4 on the copper price? Probably. Could we see a 5? Maybe. If you want to make a 0.3% copper sulfide mine financeable, that's the only way it's going to be possible.
Right, and there was also a lot of excitement last year about battery metals like lithium and cobalt. Do you follow them as well, and do you expect them to perform well in 2018?
Indeed. Batteries is an exciting field, and there's an army of people working in the battery space. I always tell people there's probably millions of people around the world working on this, and what is it? It's technology. How will the chemistry change for batteries way in the future, 5, 10, 15 years? We don't know, but they're working on it. The chemistry may impact things like cobalt, but cobalt, will it still be relevant to the battery, even if they go to these 811 chemistry, if you will? Lithium, will it still be there? They both have different pressure points. The pressure point for cobalt is that it's just so rare. Geologically, it doesn't occur as frequent as some of these other commodities. For that reason, it might get substituted out in some cases. Lithium, however, is very abundant. And if they start building these large lithium projects, which people are talking about, and we saw just 1 week ago, there's the new exportation cooperation between SQM and Corfo. They're able to quadruple their output of lithium. So the backlog is now, the chemistry may change. copper still wins the marathon. I think if you're investing in lithium, you want to be in the place that's got the most prolific resource, reserve, production profile. To me, that's the Salar de Atacama and the companies that are operating there. And of course, I'm invested in Wealth Minerals, so for open disclosure.
All right. And here at VRIC, you're going to be giving a presentation and you're going to be speaking about the 4 must-own copper stocks. Can you share which one they are with our audience?
I will. So I own all of these names, of course, for disclosure. Copper Bank, which is a company I'm the single largest shareholder of. It offers tremendous optionality. We waited for the normalization of copper markets. We're looking to do strategic, accretive advancements for our shareholders. So not only we're looking at share price appreciation, we're looking at other ways to monetize the asset value in our projects. I was also in Chile. I just came back. I spent a week down there and I looked at the projects owned by the Lundin Group of companies. I'm talking about NGQ, which has the Los Salados and Jose Maria projects, and Filo, which they spun out, which is now they're having a robust drill program this season, and they're going through now with pre-feasibility. These projects look very interesting. You know, there's a huge resource between not just these, but the area, and I think people want to look at those for optionality and development success, and you still have a lot of blue sky exploration. If people like to invest in sort of exciting drill hole plays, Aston Bay, what they're going to drill next summer in Nunavut. I think Dave Broughton and Tom Ulrich have created a lot of science, 2 years of effort to come up with these drill targets. That's going to be a highly anticipated, I think a lot of catalyst value and a lot of smart people waiting for that. So that I can see that stock having more buying pressure because as people await that. And the last one is a copper gold company, Lumina Gold. It's called Lumina Gold, but it's got a big copper kicker. They've got assets in the southern part of Ecuador, and we've seen what Lundin Gold and Sol Gold and other companies that have had a lot of success there. It's a gold company masquerading as a copper company or vice versa. And it's a raw speedy name. Look at the chart. It hasn't really moved. They doubled the resource last year for very little money. I like what that team's doing. So that's a nice little mini portfolio for people that are looking for copper, maybe some excitement, and a little bit of gold exposure at the same time.
All right, and finally, my last question for you. You're a chairman, executive chairman for Copper Bank. What company milestones can investors expect this year from Copper Bank?
Well, we've very carefully measured how can we enhance the value of our various projects. So for those that don't know Copper Bank, we bought 3 projects on a 100% basis in 2014. So during the bear market, we understood very carefully how we can do these enhancements. We did some drilling last year, but on all 3 of our projects, we're looking to do accretive work programs that may include, forward-looking statement, we may look to segregate one of the projects, and that would happen potentially from a spin-out. And that people can look at our previous press releases. But the sum of the parts, if these assets were segregated, would they still equal the market cap of the company today? We've had a lot of insider buying, so obviously we don't think so. We think the company's undervalued, and I encourage people to very carefully follow the news flow on how that could work forward and look at the sum of the parts on what Copper Bank represents.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm Priscilla Herrera with the Investing News Network.